What's up, Nerdgenic Nation, and welcome to History Of. I'm your host and resident superhero nerd, Aaron Waller, and this is the series where we do a deep dive into various comic book characters, both heroes and villains, give a little bit more insight as to who they are and why they do what they do. And considering that it's February and Black History Month, I wanted to go ahead and talk about in today's video a character that often gets a label that's not necessarily their name, but I wanted to give a little bit more insight as to who they are because they're such a great character. He's technically labeled the Black Superman, but his real name is Val-Zod. Val-Zod was created by Tom Taylor, Nicola Scott, and Robson Rocha, and first appeared in Earth 2 number 19 in 2014. Val-Zod is from Earth 2, and like Superman and Supergirl, is from Krypton and was the last of his house after his parents were executed by the Kryptonian court. He would be orphaned and make friends with Kara Zor-El, and along with Kal-El and his parents' initiatives, would escape the planet before its destruction. During his trip, Val would be educated in his capsule by his parents' knowledge through recordings that they had left behind, and taught him that violence was the least effective way to overcome conflict, and in their memory, Val would become a pacifist. Upon his arrival to Earth, Val would be found by Terry Sloan, who would offer him asylum and protection from the outside world. Val would eventually be found by the Wonders of the World, a Justice League of sorts, who discovered Val's Kryptonian history and were looking for an alien to fight a brainwashed Superman. He would, however, suffer a panic attack after being freed, and Val revealed that he had spent most of his life in a capsule, thus he was afraid of open spaces. Lois Lane would help calm him down and let him know that it's okay to be afraid, and by being a Kryptonian, he could do amazing things to help people. And as he was starting to develop his abilities, Lois would try to teach Val how to use his powers and finally going outdoors to try and fly. Unfortunately, during his training session, they would be attacked by parademons led by Superman. Hawkgirl would arrive to help, but it wouldn't be until Green Lantern arrived that they would be taken to safety. They would make their way to the Batcave, where Val would insist that they return to save Lois Lane, but they would be interrupted by Apocalyptic Horde and need to flee to Amazonia. Batman would then begin to blame Val for not using his powers and thus blame him for the death of Red Arrow. Val-Zod would then start confiding in Jimmy Olsen when suddenly the planet would be sucked up into a giant boom tube. And after having an encounter with Fate, Earth 2's Dr. Fate, he would be enlightened and finally attempt to stop Superman. While fighting him, it would be revealed that Superman was a twisted clone, who would begin cracking and falling apart before being defeated by Val-Zod, and the Wonders of the World would be inspired by his actions and take back their world from apocalypse. He would then go on to embark on an adventure within the fire pits and once again be confronted by Superman clones Desaad and discovering his clone facility of Superman replicas. During the conflict, all of the clones would awaken but would be neutralized by a pulse set off by Batman. They would eventually find the thought to be dead Clark Kent in a stasis pod and powerless from being held underground and having no contact with the yellow sun. Clark wouldn't live for long, however, as he would sacrifice himself to save Val and killing all the parademons, destroying the fortress and saving everyone. After the battle, his fellow Kryptonians Val and Kara would bury Superman before traveling to the World Army outpost. Val would then continue serving and going on various other heroic adventures, including being teleported to an unknown planet where various heroes from other universes were forced to fight one another at the behest of Brainiac. Eventually, Val and the others would escape and get back to Earth 2 after being deceived by what they thought was a friend and just before the destruction of the planet. Once they get back to the new world, Val and Kara started rebuilding the cities and eventually started dating, but their powers didn't work at all this time as the sun on the new planet was different. And after some back and forth bickering, they would eventually break up after an argument over Clark's death. During DC Rebirth, Val was among the many Supermen of the multiverse who were kidnapped by the Prophecy to steal their powers, but they were freed by the Justice Incarnate, a Justice League team comprised of various members from across the multiverse. Now, unfortunately, Val-Zod has only appeared in comics as of the recording of this video, but we hope to one day see him in other mediums, and he's rumored to have a project in the works with Michael B. Jordan producing and possibly even starring as the hero. Now, in terms of powers and abilities, Val-Zod is a Kryptonian, so he's essentially in almost all ways just like Superman, and he does even take the Superman name. The only real difference, however, is that he possesses a deep knowledge of Krypton and the teachings left behind by his parents, so he has a genius-level intellect. And now for my favorite segment here on History Of, the recommended reading, where I give you a list of comics where you can go and learn even more about this character and even better, see him in action. I would of course first recommend checking out Earth 2 number 19, which was the first appearance of the character, but to be honest, almost the entirety of the character's development takes place in this run, so I would really just say check out the entirety of the Earth 2 run. It's actually pretty good. My next recommendation is going to be the DC Convergence, which sees the heroes taking on Apocalypse, which of course includes Val-Zod. And finally, my last recommendation is that I would check out DC Rebirth, which is Superman Volume number 4, which sees the hero joining forces with the Justice League from across the multiverse. So those are some of the major things you need to know about Val-Zod. Was there anything in this video you may not have known before? Let me know in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, leave me a suggestion as to any other characters you would like to see on this series. Your suggestion just might become next week's video. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification. That way you don't miss out on any videos from me or the rest of the Nerdgenic team. And also be sure to give us a follow across all social media platforms at Nerdgenic. That way you don't miss out on any special news, announcements, or articles at nerdgenic.com. But in the meantime, if you want even more video content from us, check out these videos on screen, like the History Of playlist where you can go and see an even more comic book history of various characters, heroes, and villains. Or for a little bit of change of pace, check out my recent video where I talk about my Fast and Furious fan theory and Fast X theory that just might involve time travel. So go ahead and check out those videos right here. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you in the next video.